Hello and welcome back to this channel. It is so good to be back after taking a few days off for my birthday. I had such an amazing time and hung out with my mom, and we just did so many things, and it was such a good week. But I feel so good being back here with you. I've missed you, and we have a lot to get into. We're going straight in right away. Grab your emotional support lip gloss. You are in frame with Mandy Magnan. Today, what we're going to be diving into, of course, is it ends with never. Yes, Blake Lively at it again. Is it illegal? No. Are her moves super shady, unethical, immoral, and kind of very gross and like the exact same narrative as Van Zandt? Yes, we are going to dive into that. We're going to talk a little bit about the forever smear campaign that's been happening and show you exactly what a smear campaign looks like. We're going to dive into Miss Colleen Hoover. No, she didn't. But before that, I just want to take time to say, y'all, we got to protect Candace Owens at all costs, okay? The work that Candace Owens is doing right now, of course, I feel like it's in her way to grieve her best friend because she does do investigative journalism and goes all out. But also, there's a lot of holes, and she is discovering them all. And I think she's on to something major. I think she's on to the truth. And I think there is a lot going on behind the scenes. And I just think that she's right on this one. And I'm going to tell you why. Because these were the three men to host the show with Charlie Kirk. Yeah. Okay. Look at these men. Ben Shapiro. What? As soon as I saw these three men hosting the Charlie Kirk show, I knew something was going on because it was only about 2 weeks prior to this, or the week before this, that Charlie Kirk was on with Ben Shapiro and was challenging him about the beliefs in Israel, and as well as when is enough, and kind of, swaying to the other side. And it's just very strange. And now that you have Benjamin Netanyahu coming out and making a statement about how he's not involved, the call is coming from inside the house. It's very weird, and I think we just all need to protect Candace while she does, honestly, the Lord's work at this point, because the government's not doing it, and everyone is trying to really cover up some shady things, and I think the truth is going to come out one way or another, and we might not get all of it, but at least our eyes can be open, and yeah, period. And I've said this once, and I've said it before, and I've said it a million times, and I'll keep saying it. I don't think it is any longer left versus right, and I think somehow they've blinded this hate, and it comes from both sides, the extreme right and the extreme left. Both incite hate and violence against one another, when really it should be about good versus evil, and it should be about humanity versus insanity. And I think somewhere along the line, under this guise of politics, they've made everyone kind of hate each other, and the world right now is suffering huge and is at a huge crisis in mental health and heightened emotions, and it's just all very, very, very strange. And I think that we all need to come back to a little bit more of like love and neighbors, and humanity. And yeah, it's just very strange what's happening, and how both sides can incite violence and hatred, sheer hatred for thy neighbor. I think it just really, really, honestly, it breaks my heart. And yeah, I just pray for everyone, honestly, that they can open their hearts a little bit more and love a little bit more and support each other a little bit more. Now, with that being said, we're going to segue here into It Ends with Never, because we have extended grace and patience to the Lively Council and all third parties and extended parties and But Girl, you've been lying since day one, okay? I've been calling it out. Liar, liar, pants on fire. That is you, and here you are again, twisting the truths, right? Fixing the docket, doing everything you can for PR. Really, I mean, smearing Justin, and you've been smearing Justin and the Wayfarer parties the entire time Blake has claimed to be having smeared against. If you've seen my video on the smear campaign and the deep dive on it, please go and watch that. I will tag it down below. But it definitely was more of a smear campaign, I think, towards Justin and Wayfarer, and it still continues. An example of a smear campaign would be blasting every single headline about how Justin Baldoni has hired 2 new attorneys. 2 new attorneys, one of them happening to be on the Diddy case. And if this sounds familiar, it's because when he hired Melissa Nathan, all of the headlines were about Johnny Depp, right? So now that he's hired these other lawyers, every single headline when you type in Justin Baldoni ties him in to Diddy. Yeah, okay, so that is in itself like, it's crazy headlines. It's crazy to try to tie him in with Johnny Depp. It was crazy to now to try to tie him in with Diddy, because when people look at these headlines, they're only going to attach Justin Baldoni with Diddy. Every single move that the Wayfarer parties tried to do in this case, whether privately on the docket or just, I mean, now they haven't even talked to the media. I mean, Brian Freeman hasn't come out and made a statement in months and months and months. But these are the same tactics that were done back in August when he hired a crisis PR. And I think it's absolutely so distasteful. It's so disgusting to keep running with headlines attaching Justin Baldoni with Diddy. They are not the same. They are not even close. They are what? But you know who isn't being smeared? You know whose headlines are just running so good? Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds, wow. The headlines today is all from how he is so humbled after receiving the highest honor from Vancouver City. So his hometown city, Canada, Vancouver, and how he received one of the highest honors. So meanwhile, while Blake Lively honestly is getting the same PR, because you type in Blake Lively and it's all about this. It's all about the It Ends With Us. It's all about Diddy. It's all about the lawyers. But yet her husband is a big hero. Okay. It's astonishing to me that in the midst of this entire lawsuit, how Ryan Reynolds just keeps getting so many medals, so many honorees, so all of these things, when he literally is still tied into this lawsuit. Whether his case was dismissed or not, we all know that he was a big part of this and still is to this day. It was literally his inactive company, Van Zandt, that Blake Lively used to file a fake lawsuit in order to obtain a sham subpoena in order for the New York Times to use the otherwise illegal text messages that were given to them off the phone of Jen Abel. So you think that that's okay, that he needs to be honored and given all these medals and all of this stuff while he's in the midst of the shammiest, most illegal, unethical lawsuit that all started with them using a fake lawsuit, abusing the court docket, abusing the court system in order to ruin people's lives. Not only that, but the behavior that has been documented in the meetings that he showed up to be Blake's representative. Yeah, no union rep, no lawyer, no PR person, no manager, no assistant. Ryan Reynolds berating Justin Baldoni in business meetings in pre-production, as well as the infamous meeting on January 4th, berating him so bad that the producer of 30 plus years, Todd Black, said that he wanted to quit after that and they had to beg him to stay and pay him 2 times more. That's Ryan Reynolds. That's Ryan Reynolds. He's a monster. He's mean. He's cruel, and he will do everything he can to stay at the top, which we have seen now. They all like to quote how Steve Stortz is willing to spend $1 billion to ruin the lives of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. What has Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively spent to ruin the lives of all of these people? Just because they couldn't handle Blake Lively's reputation sinking just for a little bit because what they did was gross. Their PR strategy was awful. She had them locked in a basement. People were going to notice that she wasn't taking pictures with the director. People were going to notice that they unfollowed them on Instagram. People were going to notice that they didn't take pictures together. People were going to notice that Justin wasn't around and it was the Blake show, and Blake acted like she was the writer, the director, the executive producer, the PR person. I mean, everything. People were going to notice. And because people noticed and didn't like it, they tried to ruin their lives and continue to do so. That's who Ryan Reynolds is. Not an honorary or an honoree of the highest medal ever achieved in Canada. Are we being serious? And it's okay. People want to turn their eyes, look the other way, flatter him still, bat their eyelashes at him. Oh, praise him. Oh, it's Ryan Reynolds. Oh, it's Ryan Reynolds. Do you know why? Because of money. Money. He's bought up now so many different companies. He's trying to invest in everything that he can get his grummy little hands on. His money runs so deep in everyone's pockets, in every single distribution, in every single movie company, and his money speaks loud. So when they start talking about Steve Sorrell's willing to spend $1 billion to ruin them, I don't want to hear it anymore, because Ryan, you have the same amount of money and you've spent the same amount of money trying to destroy innocent people's lives, making up the worst allegations that you can against a man. You should be ashamed of yourself. As a man, how would you feel? How would you feel if you were accused of that? And you should have been. Your little story about Olivia Wilde, how you grabbed her boobs, how excited you got on set when the cameras weren't even rolling, physically grabbing an actress and saying how it was like your best thing ever and you felt like you were living your 10-year-old dream. Grabbing an actress on set? I mean, the things that Ryan has done is like, ugh. Anyway, I'm over it. But that's a smear campaign, okay? That's a smear campaign. Every time having Justin Baldoni in the headlines like he's some sort of monster and putting him beside Diddy. Get a grip, people. It's not even close to the same. And guess what? Lawyers represent a whole bunch of different people. Okay? Now let's get into this letter that Wayfarer dropped. Okay? Let's get into it, because listen here, the court dockets have been very quiet since that dropped. They have what? Nothing to say? Not even a request to the judge to reply with 2 pages. You know how they always like to keep going. Oh, can we reply? Can we reply 2 pages? And then they do it anyway. Nothing? Y'all got nothing? That is shocking to me. But let's just play a little game of when they do reply. First person to 5 points. What do you think? Okay, 2 points if they bring up that it's for PR. Definitely they're going to bring that up. Okay. 2 points if they talk about how this is furthering a harassment on Blake Lively. Okay, 2 points for that. 1 point, I think, if they talk about how this is a continued smear effort. The untraceable smear campaign. They're smearing her further. 1 point if they talk about how it was legal, how the recording was legal, because if it was done in New York, it is a one-party consent recording. So now we have, they're doing it for PR. It's furthering harassing their client. This letter was filed as part of the smear campaign, as well as, what was the last one? 1 point if they say how this is totally legal. And I know they're going to probably say that because when Van Zandt was discovered, Stephanie motherfucking Jones damn near put how it was a legal subpoena dozens of times. But legal and ethical, 2 different things. But now let's look at this letter filed from Aline Garofalo from the Wayfarer team. On behalf of Wayfarer Studios, the Wayfarer parties, we submit this opposition to plaintiff's letter motion requesting that the court continue to seal portions of the memorandum of law of support of Lively's for attorney fees, treble damage, and punitive damages under California Civil Code Section 47.1, portions of the declaration, And 3, the entirety of Exhibit 1 to the Declaration, Exhibit 1, collectively the materials. For the reasons described below, the Wayfarer parties respectfully request that the materials be unsealed, except for the witness declarant's name and the title of the project that the witness worked on. Perfect. That's great. So why not unseal them? Again, why were they ever sealed? Or even better yet, I have a question. Why were they even submitted into the court? Because you're not going to be able to use them as a witness for any past behavior or experience unless it is actually the exact same thing suffered. I mean, it is very rare that they would be granted to bring in past experiences, because there is a very, very, very strict law against using someone's past in order to get them on their present circumstances or their present charges. So it's very, very strange. So my question is, why was it even allowed in the docket in the first place? But they're like, whatever. They could have asked for it to be stricken, I'm sure. But instead, they were like, unseal that bitch. Okay, unseal it. Let everyone know. Okay, let the world know you want to play this game. Okay, who is you talking about, ho? Like, let's go, Blake. What's up? That's basically, I think, what this whole letter is designed to do, in my opinion. Oh, I'm getting a little feisty here, guys. Okay. The materials concern an alleged recording made by the witness of a conversation with defendant Steven Storitz without his consent. That's crazy, right? So without his consent, plaintiff seeks to seal the audio recording in its entirety, although she purported to selectively quote from it in a portion of her brief in the public unsealed version she filed with the court. Lively boldly claims she placed the substance of the relevant information. Right. So this is a big trust game here. Oh gosh, I went so far up. This is a big trust game here for Blake, you know. Oh, no. You don't have to hear the whole recording. I put the most relevant information. Right. Like how you change your story so many times about what happened in all 3 of your complaints now. Give me a break, Blakesky. Then it just says, flatly ignoring the person recorded without his consent, Mr. Sarowitz, should be allowed to have the entire recording made public to ensure accuracy and provide context. Absolutely. If it was recorded without his consent and he's never heard the entire recording, how can they even defend themselves? But also, I want to know what led up to those comments. Who was he talking to? Did they, kind of bait him to say that? Did Blake Lively send in an op in the movie premiere to record it? And did they, try to egg him on? Was it like they started the conversation? And was it, there's a lot of context missing from his statements, but even his statements weren't a direct threat to Blake, which we will get into, because now she's crying that like, oh, that was such a threat. It was such a threat. I was really scared. No, you weren't. Okay. And we're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it very soon. So they're basically just saying he should be allowed and the recording should be made public. The Wayfarer people literally this whole time have had nothing to hide. They've opened a freaking website to show everyone all of the text messages, all of the planning, everything. This whole time they're like, no, unseal it, let's go, let the people see. We have nothing to hide. As previously stated by this court, the Supreme Court and Second Circuit have long held that there is a presumption of immediate public access to judicial documents under both the common law and the First Amendment. Well, we already know Blake Lively doesn't care about the First Amendment, so let's go. Materials filed in connection with dispositive motions, such as motions to dismiss, are judicial documents entitled to this presumption. A strong presumption of public access attaches to materials filed in connection with dispositive motions, such as a motion to dismiss. Granting motion to unseal motion to dismiss, finding it is a judicial document for which a presumption of access applies. Where the presumption of public access is at its strongest, as it is here, with respect to the materials, the presumption only can be overcome by countervailing considerations in extraordinary circumstances. Although a third-party witness name may be redacted to protect their identity prior to trial, the redactions plaintiff requests are not narrowly tailored to serve the interest of protecting the personal information of the non-party. With respect to the brief, plaintiff seeks to seal 2 portions on page 5. the name of the declarant at the top of the page, and 2, a description of how Exhibit 1 was produced in footnote 9. The Wayfarer parties have no objection. Like, they don't care. They're not looking to find out who it was or nothing. They have no objection to the first requested redaction. But as no explanation was provided for sealing the last sentence in footnote 9, as none exists, that sentence must be unsealed. Plaintiff already disclosed that she produced Exhibit 1. Further, she publicly disclosed the document was an audio tape by citing to time markers, minutes, and seconds typically used when referencing an audio recording. Regarding the declaration, plaintiff seeks to seal information regarding the timing of the meeting and the context of the conversation recorded without Mr. Saritz's consent. Other than the witness's name and the name of the project the declarant worked on, none of the information reveals identity. Plaintiff improperly seeks to hide any context for the alleged verbal abuse, why the meeting with Mr. Saritz took place, when it took place, and what allegedly happened after the conversation. So it seems like the Wayfarer people know exactly who she's talking about, why it happened, what's going on. And guess what? We want to know too, okay? We want to be privy on it. Finally, the plaintiff does not provide any explanation why Exhibit 1 to the declaration must be sealed, other than it would invite additional media coverage, which she is concerned will be adverse to her. However, it is well settled that generalized concerns of adverse publicity and reputational injury are insufficient to justify sealing records. And hello, what she's doing right now is worse than just if she would have just dropped it and just redacted the name in the project, because everyone's like, what happened? Who is it? Now that everyone else, like all the people covering this case and everyone who's following this case, is on a fishing expedition themselves trying to figure out who this was. Now, for me personally, I don't think it was a woman, because she would have definitely put that in there. And I don't think it has anything to do with sexual harassment, because she definitely would have put that in there. So it's like, this was all for PR. This was all for PR. That's why if she comes back and says that this letter was for PR, oh my gosh, I'll vomit. Okay, I'll literally scream my eyeballs out, because enough is enough. But this is kind of crazy that, you know, they have this recording of Steve Soritz and they want it. They want to listen to the whole thing. Like, let's give some context where it's due. Was the other person in the conversation, you know, on the same page? What were they saying? How did this happen? And with that declaration of that third party who's going to testify, they ain't testifying, and her lawyers know that. It's crazy. But instead, again, of having it stricken or anything like that, they're like, show it. Show it. Huh? Big dog, you want to play? Show it. The courts generally reject negative publicity as a basis for overcoming the strong presumption of public access to the allegedly prejudicial items. Importantly, Lively herself is responsible for the substantial media coverage resulting from her decision to include alleged quotations from the Exhibit 1 audio recording of Mr. Saritz. Certainly, any privacy interest belongs to Mr. Saritz, the person who was recorded without his consent. Yeah, you guys want to talk about consent, right? It's so funny when, you know, she talks so much about consent and how, oh, he lingered on a kiss, and just because she bit his lip once, that kiss was already in the script. So of course they're going to be able to, what did she say? I'm paraphrasing, but she said, well, yeah, but just because she bit his lip and improv certain kisses, the kiss was already written in the scene. So of course that was fine. But Justin tried to kiss in scenes that didn't have already prearranged kissing. Shut up, okay? Here she is saying, oh, just because she invited him in his trailer once, there's a text once, doesn't mean it was all the time and he used to barge in, and that's not consent, and consent matters. Yeah, B. Consent matters. So now you're trying to use a secret recording you had of Mr. Saritz without his consent, and you think that's fine? Mr. Saritz should be permitted to have the public hear the entire audio recording and not be confined solely to Lively's flawed and out of context purported transcription of the audio recording. unseal this now. And now this was a response because Blake Lively and her counsel, Michael Gottlieb, filed this letter on the 15th asking the court to seal that. And I just want to go to a couple of places that I found were very interesting. So this is in her declaration asking for attorney fees, treble damages, and punitive damages. It's just so bizarre that she's even asked for this for yet another time. This isn't the first time that she's already asked for attorney fees, but this is what it says. Miss Lively respectfully requests the continued sealing of the sensitive materials which reveal the identity of a person who has disclosed prior experience of verbal abuse with defendant Justin Baldoni in this action to protect the well-being and sensitive confidential information of a third party. Why is verbal abuse in quotations? It either was or it wasn't. It either was or it wasn't. And verbal abuse is nothing that she's claiming. So it's shouldn't even be here in the first place. Anyway. Further, the redacted portions of the declarations disclose details regarding the declarant that, if disclosed, threaten to reveal the declarant's identity. Then in the footnote, it does say, as to the brief, Ms. Lively's request is limited to the redactions on page 5 of the revised public version of the brief attached here too, which addresses information pulled from the declaration and redactions of which are justified for the same reason. And then they talk about how it should be sealed to protect third parties, innocent third parties. Doing so is warranted here, where the public release of sensitive materials will subject the declarant to an increased risk of exposure to harassment in the press and or by social media users who closely follow this action. Indeed, the court has previously recognized the uniquely public and media-driven nature of this case. To that end, the declaration has already received substantial media coverage and will certainly invite additional coverage and frenzy should the declarant's identity or identifying information contained in the declaration be exposed. On social media, this coverage includes attempt to unmask the declarant, which describing the declaration as a PR and lies. What did you think was going to happen? It's like they cause a circus and then get mad when it's too loud. Do you know what I mean? Like, they knew what this was going to do. Their lawyers clearly are very smart, although I believe completely corrupt, immoral, and unethical. They know what they're doing. They knew that this was going to stir up media. It was literally for nothing. And I want to get to this next part I highlighted in green because I thought this was very, very interesting and a sure tell that they know that this third party will not be able to testify. It says here, there is no public interest in exposing the declarant to 6 months of online scrutiny and attacks leading up to the trial, regardless of whether the declarant ultimately serves as a trial witness. Right, because they're not going to. So it is not regardless of whether the declarant ultimately serves as a trial witness. They can't serve as a trial witness unless they have anything to do with this case and this case alone. They knew exactly what they were doing, and that line is very telling because a source for the Blake Lively camp went on a media blitz and gave statements saying that this person is going to testify. Well, they say right here, regardless of whether the declarant ultimately serves as a trial witness, hello, they're not going to. The relevant portions of the declaration and the substance of the relevant information from Exhibit 1 are in the record, such that any public interest in the evidence is already available to the public. But not all the information. You only cherry-picked, yet again, what you wanted to feed us. But we're not so stupid, Blake, okay? We're not so stupid. Just like you cherry-picked all the text messages in the New York Times. I think Blake Lively, because through her deposition and what was unsealed, a lot of people were not mocking, but talking about how she was said that she feared for her life and da-da-da-da-da. So I think this whole Steve Soretz thing is kind of like a cover-up that she can play victim even more, right? She's the victim, huge victim. She was terrified for her life. Again, what? Okay, but I think this is all just for them to feed into the narration. Again, that Blake Lively was so terrified because in her first and second amended complaints, she never said that she was terrified or scared for her life or these comments made her scared. But man, those lawyers really, 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 really made her study for her deposition, because now they are using this and they are playing it like a fiddle that Steve Soret's comments made her so scared. But this is just going back to the motion that Blake Lively filed for treble damages, attorney costs, etc., etc., etc. And this was just filed on September 8th. And I just wanted to revisit exactly what she says Steve Soret said, because he literally says in her own words that he doesn't mean it as a threat, like dead. Like he doesn't mean it like that. But this is just, again, a reminder of what it says. This is on the pages that actually the Wayfarer people refer to with the auto recording. So this is going to be on page 4 and 5. So just on page 4, it starts with, before and during this litigation, the Wayfarer parties have repeatedly made clear that their intent to retaliate against Ms. Lively, including by weaponizing the legal system. Okay, who's weaponizing the legal system? Oh my God, like the projection is so real. As Ms. Lively alleged in the SAC, that plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. Wayfarer's co-founder, co-chairman, and leading financier is multi-billionaire Steve Soret, who divulged to a witness at the film's New York premiere on August 6, 2024, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family. That was not the only time Mr. Soret made such a threat. Later, in August of 2024, even though the film had turned out very well and Wayfarer had made a lot of money on it, Mr. Soret confessed to another witness, an individual who was working with Wayfarer on an unrelated project. So this is the same person, in my opinion, that created that declaration saying that, you know, Justin Baldoni and him had very negative interactions. This is the same person, in my opinion. Even though the film had turned out very well and Wayfarer had made a lot of money on it, Mr. Soret confessed to another witness, an individual who was working with Wayfarer on an unrelated project, that if Miss Lively or Mr. Reynolds ever crossed the line, then I will go after them, he declared. I will protect the studio like Isn't Real protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done, minimum. So they highlight that part, as you can see, right? That's all in captions. So you're like, oh my God, Hamas, Israel, war, terrorists, dead bodies. You know what I mean? Like, it makes it sound really bad. But what they don't highlight and what they don't put in bold is literally his sentence after, where he says, not dead, but you're dead to me. So I have questions. Why isn't this part highlighted? The part where he literally says it's not a threat. The part where he's literally like, oh, it's probably like, oh, not dead, like, but you know, like dead to me. Like, I just don't want anything to do with them. Like, I'll never work with them again. Hello? That kind of dead, he says. So like, already, you know, it's not like a threat, you know? See, it goes on, like, but they never talk about that part. They never talk about how he said, not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead, but dead to a lot of people. As in, like, career over. As in, I'm not going to work with you again. As in, you know, hello. If they ever get me to that point, then I'll make it worth their while, because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure that the studio is protected, as would any studio head. As in what Ryan Reynolds is doing and spending right now to protect his investment being Blake Lively. He manages all of her businesses. He manages her career. He shows up to her business meeting. He gets her acting roles. I mean, hello, if Blake Lively goes down, so does Ryan Reynolds to some extent, right? So this is where it shows that there is a recording. So this happened, if we look at it, they're saying that this happened. This was not the only time Mr. Soret made a threat. Later in August of 2024, even though the film had turned out well and it made a lot of money, Mr. Soret confessed to another witness, an individual who was working on an unrelated project. We're going to get into it, guys. I am getting so far down the rabbit hole of what I wanted to talk to today, but I'm just like reeling because we're going to get into it, okay? if they ever get me to, so then he says that, and then this is where it shows that there is a recording. So whoever had that conversation with Steve Soritz was recording the conversation. And I think that Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds set them up, set this conversation up. I feel like they had an op on the inside. I feel like they were using somebody to get to the Wayfarer people, to probably undermine Justin, to probably aggravate him, to obviously get in some kind of kerfuffle. And when they had this conversation with Steve Soritz, they obviously recorded it for a reason. And it does show like the recordings, right? He said that from 3:10 to 3:16, from 26:01 to 26:09, from 25:04 to 25:32. Okay, but what happened between minute 1 and minute 30? Because you're only giving us 3 separate timestamps for a whole at least 25-minute conversation there, Blake. So did he say it just like that, or are you again cherry picking certain things that he said? Right? Make it make sense. And it's like just for funsies. Then she talks about how Brian Freeman, he reconfirmed their intent to sue Miss Lively and others into oblivion. Blah, 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 blah. But the footnote that they're talking about is footnote number 9. And this says it right here. Number 9, if I could highlight it. This person also had concerns with Mr. Baldoni, who they found to be verbally abusive, which resulted in him not being allowed on the set of the other project or involved in its marketing or publicity. And then it's redacted. But why is it redacted? Anyway, hopefully this gets unsealed. I mean, the Wayfarer people want it unsealed. We want it unsealed. And like, you're going to like blast this. And this is what they've been writing on for a very long time. The only 2 things that they've been writing on lately that I feel like is Justin Baldoni saying, oh, Blake Lively is one of those people that always thinks that she's right. Wow, what an insult. What an attack on somebody. You know that? And also now they're really riding on this Steve Soritz quote. And also in the footnote, it does say here, and that's why I keep bringing up her deposition, because I feel like they planned this whole thing of her playing the victim even more through the deposition, because it says in unsealed portions of her deposition transcript filed with the court, Miss Lively testified that she not only felt that the lawsuit and Mr. Freeman's conduct was retaliatory, but that Mr. Saritz's dead body's threat on the heels of his pledge to spend $100 million to ruin her life left her concerned for her physical safety and as a mother for that of her family. What? Now, I just went back and looked at Blake Lively's amended complaint and all of the times that she quoted this from Steve Saritz, and never once did she mention anything about being in fear for her safety, fear for her life, anything like that. So I think they are really, really, really trying their hardest to use this to create, again, a false narrative that Blake Lively is a big victim and absolutely being terrorized and, you know, in fear for her safety and for her life because of Steve Saritz's words. And now just some things that are floating around of who this person might be, because everyone is still guessing. It has been brought to my attention here that it might be him, Karan Soni, who played the lead in A Nice Indian Boy. But do you know what else he also played in? Do you know what else? All of the Deadpool. Yeah, so Deadpool and Wolverine and Deadpool 2. And when you see him on the red carpet talking about being around Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds, a fangirl, okay? He fangirls over them.
I think, honestly, to me, like, him having his kids has really, I've seen that, like, his heart has just grown even bigger than it was before. And I think the success of the first movie at the time that it came in his career, to me, I feel like he really appreciated it after all the craziness of everything. And I think he's really, like, put all his entire energy into it and his whole heart into it. And these movies, weirdly, are so crass because they have so much heart, and that all comes from him. Yeah, you know, his kids, on this one, I didn't see that as much, but on the second one, they did come to the set, and they were in front of the camera for some of the stuff. That was just for his personal home movies, but it was really cute.
That was done at the end of July in 2024. Now, he is considered Deadpool's sidekick for all 3 movies. This interview was during one of the premieres for Deadpool and Wolverine, July 23rd, 2024, and we know that all of this smear campaign started against, I believe, the Wayfarer people, but Blake Lively believes against Blake Lively at the first week of August of 2024. But also, A Nice Indian Boy was filmed in Vancouver, Canada, Ryan Reynolds' home city, between May 29th and June 21st of 2023. So it doesn't really add up. However, it kind of does, because if he's filming a Wayfarer project while Blake and Ryan are on set, because Ryan was also on set of It Ends With Us, well, we'll just say while Blake Lively was having her issues on the set of It Ends With Us, they were all filming at the same time. So it's possible that he went from filming A Nice Indian Boy to the set of Deadpool and Wolverine, and Ryan got in his ear. Who knows? That's just one theory, and we're not going to know until it is unsealed. But we should definitely get some answers very soon, because ever since they filed that document, crickets in the courtroom. Because I bet on that recording is a lot more in that meeting than just what Blake Lively is supposed to be feeding us and we're supposed to be believing. And now, before we get into some of your comments over the week, Colleen Hoover, what? You're not you trying to make money off Blake Lively and this whole mess, because tell me how wild this book sounds. Her new book that she's written called Woman Down. Let's just read a little bit of that. I can't. Now, Colleen Hoover, not you trying to make money off Blake Lively's whole mess and this whole debacle that ends with us that you started. No way. So this is A Woman Down, Colleen Hoover's new book coming out. And it's just, y'all, I'm telling you right now, so crazy. Look at this first sentence. Her words used to set the page on fire, but a viral backlash over her latest film adaptation forced Petra Rose to take a hiatus, resulting in missed deadlines and an overdue mortgage. Branded a fraud and fame-hungry opportunist, she learned the hard way what happens when the internet turns on you. And she's been uninspired to write ever since. Petra? The internet turning on you? A viral backlash over your latest film adaptation? Petra? Out of all the names in the world to pick, you pick Petra. The same name from Jane the Virgin. You know, where Raphael Solano played the hotel manager and then he married Petra and then she turned out to be a little cray-cray. And then what? You picked Petra? Colleen. Oh. It's just so ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is the telenovela of our time, I swear to gosh. And now we have another return to Instagram. Miss Isabella Ferrer has returned to Instagram with a carousel of pictures that is just a little bit strange. Like the last picture here says, let me show you. So I'll just go through it because they're just very quickly, because they're just a little bit very random, very strange, very bizarre, but it's the last one that I was like, okay, and this is it. 2025 will be my year. And then it says me in September, and it's like this beat up Barbie doll. Very interesting, but allegedly there is proof now that she has deleted and removed a lot of comments. Now the comments are fully filtered, and she was deleting every single comment that had to do with holding her accountable, as well as with anything to do with "it ends with never." And that's pretty much all from me today. Nothing has, I'm telling you, crickets in the courts. Crickets ever since Elaine Garofalo on For the Wayfarer people have dropped that little request. Unseal, baby. We want it. You can't just keep putting all of this stuff into the courts and creating all of this buzz and all of the headlines and then not letting them defend themselves properly as well in the court. So unseal that, okay? But without any further ado, we are going to go over your comments from the week in no particular order. It is Friday. Let's go. Let's see what y'all had to say. At Stray Kids Stay 18 said, "I'm really sick of Blake Lively and her team demanding whatever they want and always getting it, while Justin Baldoni's team is always denied the same requests." Yes, I think all of us are. I think ever since that big dismissal against Leslie Sloan, the New York Times, Ryan Reynolds, and now it's kind of like almost everything, like even extensions for time, extensions for depositions. But meanwhile, Blake Lively in the same breath is getting granted the extensions. And also, even I noticed like last week before he made that ruling on the extensions of the depositions, Wayfarer asked to put in a reply, two-letter reply, and he denied even that and just ruled on it. So yeah, I think we all are getting really tired of Blake Lively literally getting whatever she wants. At Wexford Girl 1 says, how has the judge dealt with all sorts of side issues that have come up, and yet this criminal use of the law has not been addressed? And now this was on my video of who's afraid of the big bad Stephanie Jones. I don't know. I'm not quite sure why they haven't ruled on anything with Van Zandt yet. I know that they did ask for a motion to compel all of the records from Van Zandt, which Blake Lively tried to fight. Van Zandt lawyer tries to fight. And actually the judge granted that motion to compel from Van Zandt as well as Stephanie Jones and Blake Lively. So we'll see if they bring this up again and what that's going to look like. But right away off the bat, like I feel like that was so unethical and such a shady move that all of the text messages I feel like should be brought into question of how they actually were obtained. At Gameaholics, MAFER, I'm sure that stands for something, but writes, "Thanks for the update on Charlie Kirk and the shooter, and agree with you. Everything about it is just very tragic. We feel your pain and empathy for this. Thanks for being you, Mandy." Oh, well, thank you. Thank you too. Yeah, it is super tragic. I think it's tragic anytime someone chooses violence over words, and I think it's really tragic that we've come to a place in time where everyone's emotions are so heightened that even if you have a different viewpoint of someone else, instead of being able to debate it, argue it, talk through it, and with an open mindset, that you choose violence and hate and sheer blind rage. Like, there are just times where you can't even mention certain people's names without like complete sheer hatred. And I think that we need to get back to a point. Hello, we all I hope, didn't you all take debate class in high school? Like, I know I was on the debate team, okay? You feel me? And yeah, it is just very tragic that we've gotten to a place where violence is the first solution to many versus intellect and words and open discussions through, love and understanding and seeing each other as equal, just with different morals and viewpoints. And that's, I think it's tragic, and hopefully will change and we can get to a place again where people are people and we can have these open discussions and ideals are meant to be challenged, and we'll see. But tragic every day, I feel like, is like breaking news, tragic. It's like, whoa, I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of living in historical times, okay, where every day is breaking news. This is from Soraya Wanza. Thank you, Mandy, for reminding us and keeping on this on our radar. I honestly hope that all these horrible, disgusting, evil people will be held accountable. Love you, Mandy. Well, love you right back, girl. And this again has to do with who's afraid of Stephanie motherfucking Jones. And I say we should be still screaming it from the rooftop. Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt, Van Zandt. Okay, until we get answers. Period, point blank. That's how we got here. And now they're still trying to pull some shady ass shit in that court docket. No, thank you. At A.C3553 wrote, 100%, they need to really start fighting, not dirty, but harder, which is why I think the new lawyers have been added. Fingers crossed, shit gets real. Justin Baldoni has been too nice with all of this. I completely agree. I didn't talk about today about the new lawyers added, which I will do, but obviously one of them used to represent Diddy and they're for appeals, baby. So we'll get into that in the next video. At Cruisian Feber Geek wrote, wonder if Jed being represented by Freeman is related to the Rebel Wilson case. Freeman was her lawyer for a time. I found this comment just very interesting and I was like, yeah. Dang, that's kind of crazy because as we know now, Brian Freeman allegedly dropped Rebel Wilson as a client and signed or is now representing Jed Wallace. And Jed Wallace and Melissa Nathan are being brought into the Rebel Wilson case. So very interesting, and this made me think a lot, and I'm going to keep my eyes peeled out for any information about anything to do with that Rebel Wilson case for real, because it's messy. That one is messy. This is a twofer, a little 2-for-1 here, because I thought it was a cool exchange. But at Diddy M. Wazi 8461 wrote, Perez did a video today that he got from a source that the Baldoni team had I think that's Taylor Swift's text messages with Blake Lively, so they may not need to depose her, so maybe that Friday filing may have been for something else. I hope that is the case for me. TW and Blake Lively were mates for 10 years. There is no way you can be close to someone without sharing similar core values. And at Defalo82 wrote, I really think that Blake Lively is not the ones orchestrating these things. It is her husband who is managing it behind the scenes. I thought both of these things were quite good. I did see that I got so many DMs in the week being like, did you see Perez said that, Justin got Taylor Swift's text? That's old news. They got all of the text messages and correspondences when they pulled the subpoena from Venable, Taylor Swift's lawyers. They had been meeting and conferring the entire year. I also had a source, and I did a big video on it that told me this months ago that they got everything they needed. The Wayfarer people actually came out the next day and made statements saying that they got everything that they needed. That's why they pulled the subpoena. So that to me wasn't like huge news. That's why I didn't jump on it. They've had it, okay? And I really do like what Defa Low said here, and I 100% think that Ryan Reynolds is orchestrating this entire thing and has been since the beginning. At Mary HK wrote, Justin's team was giving Blake's side suggestions for days they were available to be deposed. They chose not to take them up on them. Now the judge grants them extensions. It's special treatment from the judge. But Justin's team dropped the ball because Lyman does not give an F about them. Actually, he's actively working against them. This was very interesting because if you remember in the summer, I believe it was around June or July, Blake Lively was crying that the Wayfarer people only gave them certain days in the summer for depositions. The Wayfarer people have been trying to give them dates for depositions since early summer. And now she needs extensions on depositions. Very interesting because I believe they still have nothing. That's why they kept filing more motions and more motions to compel. They want more evidence. They kept adding on. We need more. Now they have over 80,000 pages that prove still nothing. That girl has no filter wrote, so from my understanding, her dropping these subpoenas against the content creators is basically her admitting, yes, I am Blake Lively, aka Khaleesi, the mother of dragons, and I could be disliked too, just like anybody else. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you keep going if you already had something against them. Hashtag Bish, who you fooling? Not everyone share a single brain cell like you and your team. Shake my head. Period. I mean, I have nothing else to say about it. In any stance where anyone challenged their subpoena, they immediately withdrew it. It's absolutely, honestly, it's jokes, but period, girl. And I agree with everything you said. And last but not least, we have A.C3553 who wrote, Mandy, do you know why Justin Baldoni's team haven't shared Blake Lively's text messages? Someone said they got them in July. Why not use those in evidence on the docket yet? I don't understand why they haven't. When will it help Justin Baldoni? When it will help Justin Baldoni? Yeah, I mean, definitely they're just building their case now. I mean, everything that they've submitted has to do with their amended complaint, so I don't think that they can take the evidence that Blake Lively gives them and just put it on the docket. That's where they're going to have to use it for expert testimony as well as for in the trial, right? So Blake Lively did say that she turned over all of the stuff that Justin Baldoni and the Wayfarer people were requested and that she followed that. So we'll see what they got from that, but I don't think they can just take it and just give it to us on the docket for no reason. But it'll be very interesting when we start getting to trial and seeing all of this evidence, because if they thought that the Wayfarer people were smearing and attacking and insulting Blake Lively in their text messages, wait till we see what Blake Lively was doing to them and saying about them to all of her other actresses and all of the other people on set, because I'm sure it was real nasty. Because even in her original complaint, she claims herself, says that she called them clowns and creeps. What else did you say? Thank you all so much for all of your comments. There's always so many good things that just make me like take pause or think, or it's just so great to also hear your voice on this channel and make sure that, we're all in this together, as they say. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. I hope you all are having the best week. It was so nice to be back here with you today. I really, really, really missed y'all. I'll be super honest. So thank you so much. If you haven't joined the membership, please join the channel. We're doing a whole bunch of goal settings and really, really trying to change and heal and grow and become the her of our dreams, and the woman that's already inside of us that just needs a little dusting off and owning our true power. So if you're down with a little bit of mindfulness and getting deeper and deeper and deeper every week, you'll be able to really just take some time for you, and hopefully we can all start smashing our goals together and hitting those glass ceilings and completely smashing our goals. Okay, so if you're down with that and you like mindfulness and abundance and kind of like really taking charge and intentionally changing and living, join the channel. It's the lowest tier that it could possibly be, and I swear it will help you, and we're building a pretty cool community over there. So thank you so much. I hope you're having the best day. If anything happens over the weekend, I will definitely be here for y'all. If not, I will see you on Monday. Drop all your comments. It was so good to be back, and I'll talk to you soon. Love ya. Bye.